Welcome to Garage Built Strongman. I'd normally say welcome back, but I haven't done shit in months because I haven't made a video. I really didn't care to. I've been prepping to compete at Arnolds in a couple of days. I am leaving Thursday morning to drive down to Ohio with my wife. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I'm pumped. I'm primed. I've done all my training. Everything's ready. Uh, I really don't know what to expect, but that's not what this video is about. What I wanted to do is I actually want to go through what I pack in my bag. I haven't seen any videos or many videos about what people are packing in their bags to take to compete. I don't want to take all the gear that I have because it's pointless, but there's stuff that you need to have for each event. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of how I go through and decide on what to pack. So each event is on my battle board. And what I do is I just go through them event by event and say, I need this, I need this, I need this, and that's the way I go. So I don't know if these events are in exact order. However, the first event that I have on the board is the keg load for reps. So it's a 275-pound keg, 4 reps. So the first thing I definitely will need is my sock belt. I'm using 2 sets of knee sleeves. Now, what's been happening lately is because of the weight of the keg, it's hitting my shins and dragging up. Now, I always use knee sleeves for my knees in any kind of event like this for a little bit of spring, a little bit of warmth, a little bit of protection. However, I have a second pair of these old beat up Cerberus ones. They don't offer much protection, maybe a little bit of warmth, but they're pretty tired. I've had these ones a long time, and they've definitely served their purpose. However, what I have found is I can put them on my shins, and they save my shins from taking beatings. They're pretty tore up right now between deadlifting and the keg. They've taken a beating and some log actually. So I will have 2 pairs of knee sleeves for the keg. I will have the soft belt, and I have my Cerberus softer belt. I forget what these ones are called, but it's a Velcro belt. Now, what's been happening with this belt is the Velcro is failing. There's different ways you can kind of make it work better. Unfortunately, because of the timeline, I don't have time to order a new one or get a new one. Maybe I can while I'm down there, but that's not really what I'm getting at here. So, what's happening is the Velcro fails when I get into the lift. It just pops off, and I don't have the support. So, to help me with that, first off, I have to use it properly, and that'll help a little bit. But one of the things that I'm doing is I'm actually going to take some medical tape. It's either this medical tape, or I might bring the hockey tape, or I might bring both, and I will just put a big wrap around it and make sure that that belt stays in place because it just started the other day and I don't really have time to break in a new belt or try a new method of lifting. So, we're creatures of habit and this is what we do. So I'm going to use this belt. I'm going to tape it up. And then the next thing I'm going to need is, laugh if you will, I've been using these grip gloves. I found that the grip is a little more consistent with the glove. And so I've been using these grip gloves. I've only used them once. I have another pair that are pretty wore in that I've been using in my training. So these ones are broke in a little bit. I really actually kind of like them for the keg. On the other events, I wouldn't use them. I just find they don't help that much. So that's the next thing for the keg. The other thing that I use is elbow sleeves. Um, Again, same thing. I've been finding I've been getting bruised up and beat up along my arms. So I throw the elbow sleeves on and I take them full of chalk. And then I chalk what's left of the exposed arm up. That's that. And the last thing I'm using specifically for the keg is the grip shirt uh, for obvious reasons. So that basically covers, and again, chalk. Chalk, you're always going to have chalk for different parts, what's left of my arm and the sleeves itself. So that basically covers the keg. And for the keg, I will be using my lifting shoes. So I have a pair of Adidas lifting shoes that I will be using for the keg. The next event is the axle deadlift for reps. Apologies. It's a 13-inch axle deadlift for a max lift. So I'm basically, we're going to go, it's already packed, but it still overlaps. So I'm going to use the soft belt, my good hard belt, and I'm actually not using figure eights. I'm just using my regular lifting straps. I don't have the right size figure eight straps for the axle. These have worked very well. So that's basically the deadlift is probably one of the easier ones. And I'm probably going to either go in my socks or I will use my barefoots shoes for the deadlift. That covers basically that event. The next one is dumbbell and log press ladders. So you start with a 120-pound circus dumbbell to a 205-pound log, back to the 153-pound circus dumbbell, and the last is a 245 log. So again, soft belt. I'm going to use this belt. However, I can use either belt, and if I find that it's a pain in the ass using the softer belt, I'll just go to this one. I don't use this hard belt for training with my own log because of the latch. It dents my wooden log, and I love my wooden log. So I have options here. But again, we're back to the same thing. So soft belt, support belt, going to use a grip shirt. I'm going to use my elbow sleeves, which are going to be now in the pile. Um, I do have wrist wraps that I'm going to use, but I haven't been really dependent on them. Again, I'll be using knee sleeves and did I mention grips? Yeah. So belts, grip shirts, knee sleeves, elbow sleeves, possibly wraps. And again, I'll have my chalk on hand. And again, with this one, I'll be using my lifting shoes. And that's basically it for that event. Pretty straightforward. As far as the chalk goes, I like to stick to a liquid chalk as a base. And I think a lot of people do this now. I use a liquid chalk as a base. And then as I go along, if I'm doing multiple lifts or whatever, but you're not going to have time to add chalk or anything. So I like the liquid chalk. It kind of sticks and stays a bit better. And then before I go, I put on the powdered chalk, and it seems like a very good combination, and it works great. That covers that. So really, we're down to the frame carry. So the frame carry, you're already going to be wearing knee sleeves. You're going to be wearing your soft belt. I can use my hard belt for that one. I don't need elbow sleeves or anything. And for that, I will be again using my barefoots. That's the trouble. Sometimes you're switching back and forth between shoes and stuff like that. I used to use running shoes, but because I have these two pairs of shoes, that pretty much covers any event that I've needed to come across, unless it's like a truck pull. But I'm not going to get into that today. So, and that's basically it. The frame carry is a pretty easy one to take care of. And the last event is an arm over arm sled pull. This event is I've done this two ways. I've done it with the grip gloves, and I've also done it with the chalk on my hands. I'm going to make a game day decision, but I think maybe the grip gloves might be the way to go because the chalk will wear off. The arm over arm sled pull will be on a rubber floor. It won't slide at all. So, unless you've got a way to get more chalk on your hands really quick, the grip gloves would probably be the way to go, I think. And with that, I might tape it to keep those gloves in place while you're pulling. Nobody knows what the weight of the sled will be. So that's basically, and a couple of the events basically puts every piece of equipment that I'm going to take on the mat. That's all got to fit in the bag. Now, extra things that I take. I probably will take my extra long straps, my axle straps. I'm not a fan of them. They're, I don't know. Because it's a one rep max, I can get away with it. I found anything where you're doing multiple lifts, or if you're doing a ladder of some sort, I find the axle straps don't work great. But you know what? I think I'm going to put them in the pile anyway because it doesn't hurt to have backups. These these straps that I've been using I've had these for 4 years. They're getting pretty frayed. And I've seen it where people have had their straps break mid lift, so it doesn't hurt to have the backups. Some things I don't have. I don't have another pair of wrist wraps, so that's just one of those things. So yeah, that covers a lot of the stuff that's going to be here. I do have another set of knee sleeves and another set of elbows, but I don't need to take too much of that stuff to cover the events. However, so on top of the regular stuff that I take, I have both liquid and powdered chalk. I make sure I got my mouth guard, tape. My wife always packs a first aid kit. Unfortunately, a first aid kit, not most of the time, what I need isn't really for bruises and bumps. It's generally for torn muscles. So that's where I've been. I make sure I've got my smelling salts. This is a brand new one. It's only been used once or twice, so I'm not too concerned about that. It's a metal container. This is Zone. So it's a metal container, but it's also in a Ziploc bag, which is I always leave it in there. Now, when I've traveled on a plane, I make sure it's zipped up tight because they get a little weird when they smell ammonia on the plane. I don't know why that is. Um, and there's a few other things that I do take in the bag. Uh, you know, um, I don't know if I'll take my shorts and some of my other clothing in this gear bag. I may have to pack a different bag. I will be taking an assortment, I guess, of straps, or not straps, sorry, bands for just warm ups and stuff like that. I mean, always at events you go to them, there's equipment to warm up with, but while you're standing there getting ready, while they're doing announcements and so on and so forth, it doesn't hurt to be warming up your shoulders and what have you, whatever you can. So they will definitely go in the bag. There's not a lot else that I will be packing, except for the problem is the one bag is kind of small, and I may need to look at a different one. Um, and that's really what it comes down to. That's basically it. Like it kind of looks like a lot, but it's kind of not. Now, getting it all in that bag, it's a different story. You have to get creative. And I always get real creative putting it in the bag. But at the end of the day, when I'm done the events, I'm just in there stuffing the shit in there and hoping that it'll all fit. And it never does. I just don't understand how it suddenly gets bigger and takes up more space. It's probably just because I'm lazy and tired at that point. So probably what I'll do is I'll pack a second bag for a few of the things that just to make it a little easier to transport it around. You know, we're going to have a cooler bag with food in it and another bag probably with stuff we're not worried about, like drinks and whatnot. Um, and then again, some clothing and somewhere to store my clothing that I'm wearing to and from the event. But this is the breakdown of what I'm going to take with me. I'm not taking a pre-workout. The event's too long for a pre-workout to really be an effective thing. Your body kind of gets used to it. So I don't know. I've never seen a point in really using pre-workout. That's what the stuff like smelling salts and that sort of stuff is for. So guys, that's kind of the breakdown. Hopefully it's a pretty straightforward video. That's the breakdown of what I pack in my bag. And I'm sure there's been a few other things depending on the events, and it really does depend on the events that you're competing in that day. But essentially, this is really. I know I'm a little overboard on some of the things. Do I need the extra knee sleeves to protect my shins for one damn day? I could probably take it, no problem. The elbow sleeves for the keg, the same thing. Do I absolutely need them? No. You're gonna make 5 lifts. Where as I'm training, I'm probably lifting that same keg probably 8, 10, 12 times in the event. I expect a solid 5, possibly 6, if I'm really quick and really on my game. Do I need these 2 extra pieces? I could get away without. I'm going to take them anyway because I am competing in the Masters 50 plus category and I am 51 years old and I just don't like taking the beatings that I don't have to. So that's why I do things like that. And I make sure sometimes there's backups of things that I'm worried about or whatever. But I also have found that you go to an event and something happens, there's almost always somebody there that's willing to lend you a hand. And that's one of the biggest things I like about strongman is the competitiveness as well as the camaraderie of it. So the next video I want to do, and you guys can let me know, is I want to do a cost breakdown of the event, what it's cost me to get there, and the food, the hotel, the entry fees, the gas. Because we're driving from Ontario to Columbus, Ohio, um, you know, obviously there's a cost. Sure, I could fly down, but I'm pretty sure it'll be cheaper to drive. But if you guys are interested in that, leave me a comment below and I'll go from there. But for now, I hope this was kind of an interesting video and maybe in the future I'll get to making a few more. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this was a good video for you. Cheers. I'm out. Going home.